Greetings and salutations, travelers of the internet, and welcome to the Lit Round Table. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Anna, and we'll be your wise or not so wise mentors for today's audio adventure into all things storytelling. Welcome to episode 12.
A dozen episodes in to season 2.
Look at us go. Today we're going to be talking about our reaction and thoughts about the Obi Wan Kenobi show, now that it's officially finished. But before we get into that and our usual programming, we do need to announce what our next read-along book is, which is... Do you want to say it? Or do you want me to say it?
Sure. It's my list. I'll say it. It is Hall of Smoke by H.M. Long.
Yes. Very excited.
So, the pretty cover with the owl won. You're welcome.
It has a very similar color scheme to our last book. So when I was making...
Yeah, kind of like inverted, though. Like
Yes. Navy and gold again. So, kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. So that schedule will be posted on our socials, and can you put it in the YouTube video here? Like as we've been talking about that? Okay.
Yeah.
So for next week, you can read to chapters 1 through 5. So.
Very good.
Yes. And then, as always, I want to hear what you're watching and reading right now, Joseph.
Show and playing.
And playing.
I am watching, we are watching Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yes.
And after we're done recording this, we're going to watch more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, Hope and I started watching Spy Family.
Do you just love it? Isn't it so cute?
It's pretty great.
It's so good.
It's pretty awesome. The premise is super... we haven't finished it.
Okay.
We haven't caught up, but the premise is super engaging, and the characters are fascinating. The daughter is the cutest thing on the planet. It's great. It's 10 out of 10. Would recommend. Also, Stranger Things is out now. The part 2 of volume 4. So finished that last night, which was emotional. We were kind of talking about a little bit before we hit record, because we both finished that up. But I won't spoil it. It's still a little fresh. Not gonna get into it.
Yeah, it's only a day old, so at the
as
time
of
recording. Yeah.
But I'm satisfied with where it left off, and there's going to be one more season. So. Also finished watching Critical Role Calamity, which that was also emotional.
Yes? When did you finish that?
Wasn't the last one... Well, because the last time we recorded was... I don't think I'd finished it at the time, because I wasn't able to watch it the day it came out.
Gotcha.
The last time we recorded an episode.
Right.
Yeah, that was awesome and also emotional. And then also there's Kenobi, which we're going to talk about. Yeah. So super excited about that. So I've been reading, finished Light of the Midnight Stars for the last read along. And also been reading Words of Radiance still, the second book of Stormlight, and that has gotten really, really stressful.
Oh. Yeah.
Really, really stressful.
All of your stories have been stressful. Except for Spy Family.
Years of my life. Spy Family is the one that is like helping ground me.
Yeah.
Insanity. Because everything else is so stressful.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it for reading, though. And for playing, haven't played a ton of it, but I'm still playing Bloodborne. But also story time for playing. So the reason why So for recording today, we had to wait a little bit for Hope to get home so that uh, there could be someone waiting to sign for a package at our apartment, which may or may not be a PS5, which Hope was able to procure. And I'm super excited about it. And it was a bundle one with the new Horizon Forbidden West game. So once it's one where Ashley Birch voices the main character. Do you know who she is?
No.
Okay,
Well,
never mind.
maybe
Well,
she's someone I would recognize, but the name doesn't. What else has
you
she
will.
done?
She does a lot of voice acting stuff, and she also plays a guest character in Critical Role
Okay, I
in
haven't gotten there
Campaign
yet.
2,
Okay.
which you'll get to fairly soon.
Okay.
A dwarf named Keg.
Laura, does she come on after Laura has her baby? Shortly thereafter?
Yeah, when Laura and Travis are
Okay. Because
taking a hiatus.
Gotcha. Because the episode I'm on right now is the one where it's the first one where Travis and Laura are not there because they had their baby that day.
There you go.
So I think she's must be coming on soon because
You're almost there. Yep.
Matt mentioned having a guest on the next episode. So.
Yep. It's Ashley.
Okay, well, I will know who she is shortly then.
And she had like a YouTube series called Hey Ash, What You Playing? She's like a big gamer person.
Okay.
Yeah, she's cool. I like Ashley Birch. Anyway, so also played some board games. We had another board game day with Sam and Sarah. Shout out if you guys are listening. And we got to play Tiny Epic Pirates, which we've had for a long time and haven't actually played yet. And that was fun and astoundingly complicated for the tiny box, as you know, that's literally their brand. That's the point. But
Yeah.
also played a really charming, cute game called Meadow, which is like you're building a cute little scenic like meadow thing with these cards that you play, and the art is all really pretty, and there's like fun animals you can play. It reminded me of Wingspan, but different, but similar
Okay.
in like the focus on like nature and wildlife stuff, and it was very charming and cute.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, how about you? What have you been watching and reading?
Yeah. Okay, so for my watching, I also finished Stranger Things, part 2 of season 4. I was telling you this, but I'll tell the listener. I thought that season 4 was the last season. So on the last episode, which was like 2.5 hours long-ish, it was like within the last 10 minutes, I was like, how are they going to wrap this up in 10 minutes? Like I paused it to see how much time was left because I thought maybe I'm just in like a weird time vortex and it hasn't been as long as I think it's been. But no, there were only 10 minutes left. And I was like, I don't know how they're going to pull this off. Turns out they're not because there's another season. So if you're watching Stranger Things, season 4 is not the last one. Anyway. And then after I finished watching that, I watched a Studio Ghibli movie called From Up on Poppy Hill. And it was very cute.
Never heard of that one.
Would recommend. It was very good. It's about these kids that are trying to save their clubhouse and for school. And the main characters have crushes on each other. It's very cute. But there's like drama around that, of course. So, and I also finished Obi Wan Kenobi. I started a rewatch of it so that some of the earlier episodes would be a little fresher for today. I didn't get all the way through, but I also watched Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey, which is a documentary on Netflix about the FLDS, which is the fundamentalists of the like Mormons. They're like under the Mormon umbrella, but they're the fundamentalists.
I'd heard of that documentary.
It's intense and disturbing, but if you have a curiosity about like cults and that kind of thing, this is up your alley. I didn't know that Warren Jeffs was still alive. Like he's in prison, but he is alive and apparently still giving them revelations from behind bars, which I find even more disturbing. But anyway, I started, well, as we talked about before, I am also working through Campaign 2 of Critical Role still, and Campaign 3 started back up from their break, so I watched the first little bit of that
I
this
did
last
not
week.
get to watch that because I had to close on Thursday.
Well, I was having, I don't know, Thursday I was having a hard time paying attention to anything, so I didn't watch it very carefully, so I'm going to watch the whole thing over.
I did see that there's a new intro
There is.
animation.
Yes, there is. I like it. I think it's cool. And then for reading, I also finished Light of the Midnight Stars and will be starting Hall of Smoke soon. I read a book of poems by Amanda Lovelace called Unlock Your Storybook Heart. I've mentioned her books of poems before. Would still recommend. I read 2 volumes of Attack on Titan, No Regrets, which is a prequel series. There's only 2 volumes in the series. So I read that. It was interesting. It's about Captain Levi. So
Nice.
I also read a romance called Meet Me in the Margins by Melissa Ferguson, which I almost DNF'd because the DNF meeting did not finish. Because the characters work in a publishing house for literary fiction, and it was going a little heavy-handed on the literary fiction snobbery. Which is ironic because this is a speculative fiction romance, or not speculative fiction. It's a genre popular fiction romance, which was the point. It was very tongue in cheek, but it was a little much when I first started reading it, so I put it away for a little bit and then I picked it back up.
Fair.
And now I'm reading Hooked on You by Kathleen Fuller, which is another romance, another one that I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Bad luck with romances so far.
Well, okay. So in Meet Me in the Margins, the main character has a sister who's very type A, super into fitness, and so there's a lot of weird comments about the main character's body and some fat phobia things, which I'm that's annoying. But the character that was embodying those things was also annoying, so it was it's annoying, but okay, whatever. And also just moralizing food is frustrating. And then in this Hooked on You, the main character has made a couple comments about how she needs to lose some weight, and I'm just I don't know if I can do it. if I can vibe with some more fat phobia in my books right now, but
yeah,
why can't we just exist in our bodies and why can't characters just exist in their bodies without having to make them good or bad?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did finish volume 3 of Witch Hat Atelier, which was very charming as always. So I've started volume 4, and for my book club with the kiddos, we're going to be starting The Long Winter, which I'm very excited about, which of course is another Laura Ingalls Wilder book. So I had it all written down this time.
Yeah. Good job. Proud
so
of
I
you.
didn't have to think about it so hard. But, yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. And I'm not playing
As
it
always,
right
your reading list is always miles longer than mine. It's okay.
Well, it doesn't help that I'm also peppering some manga in there, and those are significantly faster reads than a novel.
That's true.
Especially a Brandon Sanderson novel. And also my 2 books are romances, which are also much shorter than fantasies are. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Stormlight's intense.
Yeah.
I'm on chapter 57, and I'm halfway.
Yeah. No, these are like topping out at, 30 chapters. And they're much shorter chapters. So I do have like quite the collection of longer books that I could be reading, but I'm just not at the moment. So
Yep, that's okay.
You'll get okay. There. I will. My TBR list is very long. But that's okay.
Or TBF.
That is
finished.
Yes, also very long. I didn't even mention some of those.
Silmarillion.
Yes. I'm also technically still listening to A Conjuring of Light, which I haven't mentioned in a long time because it's my kitchen novel and I've been listening to music lately instead of listening to a book in the kitchen. But anyway.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, let's talk about Kenobi. Obi Wan Kenobi.
Kenobi!
Yes. Okay, I want to hear, before we, dive into it, I want to know your overall feelings towards it.
My overall feelings are positive, and that is largely thanks to the last episode.
Okay.
It had a really nice bookend, and I'm excited to go back and watch A New Hope in the new light that is Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
And see the little the subtle things that still work, but you didn't you wouldn't have thought about in that way. They did a good job of sticking within that A New Hope canon.
Mm-hmm.
But still making those moments in A New Hope even more meaningful. Things that would have just been a throwaway line are actually have a deeper meaning now, which we can go a little deeper in later. But yeah, overall feelings are positive. I have some things I didn't like, but overall, definitely positive.
Okay. I'm very curious to hear about the things you didn't like. Because for me, the whole thing, I felt very positively about it. There were a few moments where I was I'm confused. I'm not understanding the logic train here, but enjoyed all of it. I was excited to watch every episode, and I was locked in. I wasn't multitasking while I was watching them. I was sitting down to watch a Star Wars episode.
Right. Same.
Which was kind of nice. Because as we know, I'm a chronic multitasker. Just can't help myself. But I think that I think part of the reason why I felt so positively about it is because it felt like the Legends novels that I used to read. It had the same kind of tonal quality to it that I feel very nostalgic about for Star Wars.
Sure.
And it did very nicely bridge the gap between episode 3 and episode 4 of the Skywalker saga, I felt.
I agree.
It was really nice to have some closure for Obi-Wan, because Revenge of the Sith ends on a very traumatic, this horrible thing just happened to you and now we're not going to see you again for 18 years. And that's a lot of weight to just have sitting on a character unresolved and unaddressed widely.
Yeah. I liked getting to go in and unpack the layers of trauma
Yes.
and PTSD that Obi-Wan clearly has.
Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't think about Obi-Wan just cutting himself off from the Force. Which we find out that he did widely. Just turn his back to it. Which totally makes sense. It just wasn't something I had thought of.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about really quick what our predictions were and what we got right, and then maybe we can go into specifics?
I don't remember what all of our predictions were. I should have re-listened to that episode.
I re-listened and jotted down mine. I remember most of what yours were, though.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go through that.
So for mine, and we had a lot that were shared,
Sure.
But for mine specifically, I know we saw it in the trailer, but it was nice that it was definitely the focus was getting to new locations. and we didn't spend, I would say the majority of the time was off of Tatooine, which I appreciated, as you all know.
I also appreciated it. It was a nice
Yes.
change of pace.
I also really wanted to see Obi-Wan versus Vader with like some kind of harkening back to the Battle of Heroes soundtrack. We did get to see Obi-Wan versus Vader twice, but we did not get to hear any. At least I didn't hear any Battle of Heroes music at all. It was mostly original soundtrack stuff. They didn't reuse a lot of themes, which is fine. It's cool that, I mean, Obi-Wan kind of got his own new theme in the show, which was kind of cool to hear. But I thought that most of the show was going to be about keeping the Inquisitors away from Luke, which in a roundabout way was like true, because that's always his overall goal, is to keep Luke hidden. But there was such a heavy focus on Leia that I wasn't expecting. I didn't think she was going to be in the show at all.
Right. I was also very surprised by that, and pleasantly so.
Yeah. Getting to see young Leia and Obi-Wan interact was actually cool.
And more Bail Organa was great.
Yes. I said straight out I didn't want to see Darth Maul, which we didn't, which was good. You said you didn't want to see Ahsoka, which we didn't, which was good.
Yeah.
I said that I would really like to hear at least Qui-Gon's voice, even if they couldn't get him back physically. And we were able to see a full-on Force Ghost apparition of Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yes.
As portrayed by Liam Neeson.
So good.
And that was the part that definitely made me tear up.
Yeah.
was seeing, like, I was fine for the rest of it until I saw Qui-Gon again. And then I was like, oh!
Yeah. Yeah.
My emotions. We didn't get to see Cal Kestis, who's the main character from the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order game. However, you said that you would like to have seen like some other Jedi that escaped Order 66, and we didn't. I mean, I guess if you count Reva, but
well, also the Jedi who's unnamed, as far as I know, on Tatooine at the beginning.
Right,
he was a knight. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he didn't last long, but we did see some Jedi survivors from Order 66, and also there was that whole the Path.
Oh, he is named. Sorry, he is named Nari.
Oh,
I had it written down.
Sorry,
anyway.
Nari.
The Path.
But
yes,
we got to see the Path, and they name dropped Quinlan Voss, which was a cool Jedi dude. And he's got like this interesting history in Star Wars canon where like he was like he's kind of a fan favorite, but like just the moviegoers have no idea who he is, you know. But
I mean, I am not just a moviegoer, and I like the name is familiar, but I can't put my finger on why I know the name.
So he's interesting. He's got like the gold band thing across his face and the long black like dreads, and he's got a green lightsaber.
Yeah, I can picture him. I just don't know where from.
Or a couple episodes of Clone Wars.
Oh, okay, maybe that's where I'm. Okay.
And they were fighting against Cad Bane, I think. But he has a whole like long history that is actually canon now. But apparently he survived Order 66, which I know a lot of fans were happy to see.
Yeah.
Because at least he survived long enough to write his name on a wall. I guess we don't know if he's still alive at the time of the Kenobi show. But
right.
Yeah, anyway.
I felt bad because I was like, I should know I should like be able to put a finger on that name, and I could picture him, but I couldn't figure out why I knew what he looked like. So Clone Wars makes sense.
Yeah.
So thank you. I had a note to ask you about that.
Yeah. So there was also, I also said it would be cool to see live action Captain Rex. And we didn't see Rex, but we did see a live action clone trooper who was a beggar on that planet, which I can't name. It wasn't Rex, but he was clearly wearing 501st armor. Mm-hmm. So either he's not all there or he didn't recognize Obi-Wan, but I feel like he probably just wasn't all there, and that's why he didn't recognize Obi-Wan, because I feel like otherwise he probably would have, because Obi-Wan and Anakin were like,
Yeah.
they fought together a lot in the Clone Wars. But anyway, we didn't see Rex, but we saw a clone trooper, and the only Rebels characters we really saw were some of the Inquisitors. We didn't really see anyone. I mean, and Darth Vader, because he was in the show too, but
Right.
no like main Rebels cast showed up.
No.
But
And no mention of Satine. Sad face.
no, yeah, no.
I mean, she's dead by this point.
No, she's super dead.
But they could have mentioned her.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the predictions, mine anyway, and some of yours. So as for like overall like reactions to specific scenes, I mean, if you're here, you've seen the whole show theoretically. So I don't these the things we talk about, I don't think are going to be in. I mean, it's going to be very loose order chronologically. You know, it's not going to be like the read along episodes where we talk about each episode and like do like a scene by scene analysis type thing. But yeah, what reactions did you have for some like any specific scenes that jumped out as favorites for you?
Oh, favorite scenes. I really liked the scene between Obi-Wan and Leia when they're on that barge in the middle of the desert on that one planet with I can't think of that weird critter's name, but although some of the conversation they were having, I was like, you're being a little loud.
Yeah, for sure.
You're not being very covert. But I appreciated her asking if he knew her parents and his admitting that he did. Or at least that he knew her mother. And then she asked if he was her father. And he was like, I wish I could say that it was. Which, that little line caused a little bit of a kerfuffle online where people were like, Obi-Wan wanted to be with Padme. And that was not at all how I took that line. I interpreted that line as him being like, I wish that I could say that your father had like a path like mine. Like it would be easier for you if I was your father than who your actual father is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because your
like,
actual father
that'd be the easiest solution to this, because your actual dad is a genocidal maniac.
Right.
Who's trying to kill us.
Well, but he doesn't even, does he know? He does know at that point that Darth Vader's alive. Because that's like revealed to him that Anakin's even alive in the show. But at that point he did know about Darth Vader and Anakin. So, yeah. But I really liked that scene between them.
And I think the people who misinterpreted that scene as Obi-Wan wanted to be with Padme, I think just honestly,
wishful thinking.
I don't see how if you're familiar with the prequels, I don't see how you could jump to that conclusion. If you have seen the prequels and you understand them and you have not even average, even below average, like media literacy, I think you should be able to figure out that that's not what he meant.
Right. No, I agree. It was really bizarre to me.
I was confused on how that even became a thing.
Yeah, but you saw that kind of discourse too, right? And I was like,
oh yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What? How did you come to that conclusion that that's what he meant?
Maybe they were just trolls. It could be that they were just like trolling the Star Wars fans, but whatever.
It's possible.
What
about you? Favorite scene?
I really like that scene too. I have a lot of favorite scenes.
Well, so do I. But you put me on the spot, and I was like, oh, I liked all of it. But I really like that scene.
I have a list of specific things that I had like reactions to that I wanted to definitely touch on. But the one you mentioned Wasn't on it, so I'm glad you mentioned it.
Nice.
I thought I thought it was really really cool, and I didn't expect it to open this way. But how it opened on Order 66 in the Jedi Temple
Yeah.
was such a somber and interesting way to open the show, especially given what's revealed later on about Riva. I had a
Mm-hmm.
theory. I had a theory in my head that she was one of those younglings in that group.
Yeah.
Because later on, when she tells Obi-Wan like, "Oh, Anakin's alive," Anakin's Darth Vader, and she's like messing with his head to try to
Mm-hmm.
catch him and stuff. That actually caused quite a bit of fan uproar because people were like, "How does she know that? If she knew that, Vader would have found out and killed her a long time ago. He protects that secret at all costs. Like anybody that knows that he's Anakin is either the Emperor or is dead." um,
I guess I hadn't thought about that being a well guarded secret. Like I didn't know that that was a thing.
yeah, and like that is typically if someone figures it out, he like kills them. Is
Oh,
like
I
kind
didn't know
of
that.
a thing. Tarkin might know. He might let. I think Tarkin knows. I think that's canon that Tarkin knows. But anyway, but
Hmm.
that's not common knowledge to anyone. So that actually caused some uproar. But then later on, it's revealed that she was one of those kids, one of the younglings that he tried to kill, and she survived. And so she saw that was Anakin Skywalker, and put two and two together and figured out that he became Darth Vader. So
Right.
that it actually ended up making sense, even though it caused a lot of uproar.
See, I didn't I didn't know that that was. I mean, I knew that there was a lot of backlash about her character, and like some very racist Star Wars fanboys being
Yeah,
racist,
yeah.
which is super annoying. Because it's a great character, in my opinion.
Honestly, I think that she was underutilized. Like I think
Agreed.
they could have leaned. Her motivations confused me at times, particularly at the end, and
Yeah, that part. Yeah, we'll get to that. But
I wish that she wasn't so like stab proof. I think they could have found a better way to like have her survive the temple and escape from Vader later on without getting stabbed by him twice and surviving. That seems like a little unbelievable,
yeah,
but that's not an issue with her character. That's an issue with like the writing and the plot.
and choreography of the scenes. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, like I said before, I really liked that Princess Leia had such a focus. Although she did have some really bad chase scenes that were pretty comical. But
Yeah.
part of that's because you're working with a child actor, and I mean, some of it's choreography, like oh no, this tree, like
You know what? That reminded me so much of Return of the Jedi when they're on the speeder bikes and like Luke and Leia will both dodge under branches and the stormtroopers just like blatantly run into them. That's what that reminded me of.
yeah, yeah,
You're like, how did you miss that? You literally watched someone ahead of you dodge it
yeah.
and then you ran into it.
Stormtroopers are kind of like there's that scene from A New Hope where the stormtroopers are all walking through that doorway and one of them just like bashes its head against the top of the door frame like thunk, and
Right.
you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I mean, that's an instance of the actor or
The stunt person.
the stunt
like,
person.
I can't see a thing in this helmet.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
They really
literally not being able to see. But like running into a tree doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the pursuers were like characters from Sims, where like you put a chair in front of them and then they're trapped in the corner.
Yeah, a little bit like that.
It kind of felt like that, but sometimes you have to just sit back and let Star Wars be Star Wars and
Absolutely.
not get too hung up on that kind of thing because it's Star Wars is notorious for
Yeah.
being like that.
Speaking of Leia though, I thought that she did a very nice job.
She looked the part.
She
for
looked
sure.
the part. She had the attitude, which at first I was like, why is Leia being such a little turd. And then I was like, well, Leia's always
Because it's Leia.
kind of been a turd.
Yeah.
And that's not, and I don't mean that in like a, in a negative way necessarily, just that she's always been very sassy and like not taking any crap from anyone. Which like you come to expect from Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Completely. But it is a little more jarring when you see it in a 8-year-old.
She played a great young Carrie Fisher.
She totally did.
She did a great job.
Yep.
And the actor that they found for young Luke was also perfect. Looked super awkward.
Yep.
Was a great young Mark Hamill, you know?
Yes.
I'm like, I could see that derpy little kid growing up to be Luke from A New Hope. Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, it was kind of interesting to see. I read this online and I was like, oh yeah, that's so true. That Star Wars is leaning really heavy into this relationship with is like older male character and then and kid child sidekick. With
You are totally correct.
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
With Din Djarin and Grogu. You've got the Bad Batch with Hunter and Omega. And Obi-Wan with, Obi-Wan and Leia. There's like a theme with with the live action and with the animated stuff too. Boba Fett didn't really have that, but
no. It wouldn't have
been weird.
It would have been very, very weird. Well, that's not true, though. Because with the Tusken Raider scenes, there's a kid Tusken Raider that he bonds with.
Yeah, but they don't... I mean, yeah, you're right. But they kill the kid too fast. So
right, yeah. It's a very small part, but it does
lasts
happen.
A couple episodes. It's not like the premise of the plot, No. It's not a center point like in those other shows.
Unless you count the Vespa gang as, like, kids. Which they totally are.
I mean, they're
young adults.
They're branded towards kids and like toys, but collect the whole Vespa gang.
We don't have to talk about Boba Fett. Anyway.
Right, but so yeah, that's definitely something that they've leaned into that I've noticed.
I hadn't put it together until you just said that.
Yeah, now that it's been pointed out to me, I'm like hyper aware of it. It's like, oh, here's another babysitting show. But like it hasn't been like, at least they've all been good, It hasn't gotten annoying for me, maybe for some people, but
yeah, some people are always going to be annoyed at Star Wars, so
I think some people have legitimately made it their career to be annoyed at Star Wars, like some of these like YouTube channels and TikTok channels that are like dedicated to bashing the current like Disney Star Wars. That's like all they do, all they care about. I mean, I have critiques, but I'm not that hate-filled.
No.
Like I said, overall positive. But how about you? What's something else that you liked?
I liked that Tatooine was actually a sketchy planet. Like they weren't trying to romanticize it or make it better than it was, like Sketchville. Yep. Let's see. Oh, I loved the droid, the Nedby, the silent like droid that Tala had.
That was clearly a man in a suit, and you could like see where his head was and everything.
Yeah, but I loved him.
He reminded me of the robot from the Netflix Lost in Space.
Oh, a less scary version, maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that
great.
Yeah. I loved seeing Bail Organa like be a father, and particularly like when he and his wife, whose name escapes me.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I have no idea.
Well, anyway,
that's embarrassing.
That is embarrassing. I think it starts with a B, but I could be wrong. But they're like trying to discipline Leia, and he's very clearly trying not to laugh because he thinks that Leia's antics are funny.
Yeah. The mom is the bad cop, and dad's the good cop.
Yes.
Leia's daddy's girl.
Absolutely.
Get away with murder.
Which totally tracks with what we know of Bale. So
yeah.
So I liked that. I liked those interactions.
I liked so the Grand Inquisitor guy. I was worried going into his performance since he said in interviews that he went out of his way to like not watch the Rebels content, which I thought was a weird choice. Like, why would you do that? It'd be like Obi Wan saying he refused to watch A New Hope to see like how Alec Guinness performed as Obi Wan. So I was like, why would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, why would you do that? I don't get it. Like, I understand wanting to have like a. It just seemed to me it seemed kind of selfish. Like, I want this to be my character, but he actually did good. Like, he still there wasn't really like a moment where I was like, oh, he doesn't act like the Inquisitor at all. Like, they're both, just slimy, gross, dumb, bad guy characters.
Yeah.
You know, I was a little bit thrown when he got stabbed. I was like, but he's in Rebels. I know he's not dead. What? So that was like another instance of someone kind of being stab proof. But
does Rebels happen before or after this show?
It's after. Because the Grand Inquisitor is in Rebels and dies in Rebels.
Oh. Okay.
So that was odd, but I thought his performance was good though. He has gotten memed though. Have you seen that on your TikTok For You page? So you know the scene where after Reva like gets stabbed by Vader after their fight, which was an awesome fight. We can talk about that too. The Grand Inquisitor walks in. It's like, oh, he's still alive, and he's like, hello. Like the way he says hello.
Yes.
That clip has been memed, and they're like
funny.
Putting that clip with like funny captions like me when I open the fridge at 2 a.m. and see the last cheese stick. Hello.
Yes, that's funny.
Yeah, anyway.
No, my FYP has been largely political content presently.
That's understandable.
I would like some more Star Wars content, so send that my way.
There is a portion of my For You page that is also political, but this is a fantasy podcast, so we're not going to go. We are all about escapism here at the Lit Round Table.
Yes.
Because the real world sucks. Anyway. Let's talk about Star Wars, a world where like an empire, like a dictatorial regime is in power. Escapism. Anyway.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of content talking about the redemption arcs that Reva and Tala are on, and how like Tala's at the end of her redemption arc, and by the end of the show we see Reva start her redemption arc. And I liked that. I'm a little annoyed that I didn't pick up on it myself, but that's why it's nice to hear other people talk about things.
Right. Yeah.
So I liked that, because we're also in the midst of Obi-Wan forgiving himself too. Like, that's a huge part of this story. Like, him cutting himself off from the Force because he feels like a failure. And when he's having that conversation with Nari, when that Jedi Knight finds him and is like, Master, you can help us. And he's like, we failed. It's like, you need to forget. Go bury your lightsaber in the sand and move on. Which is so heartbreaking to hear from Obi-Wan. Because he was such a champion for the Jedi for so long. And then, the story widely follows him reaching back out to the Force and like regaining that connection when he has to. Because he doesn't have an option to not be who he is anymore. And oh my gosh, the final fight between Vader and Obi-Wan just gives me goosebumps and makes me so emotional. That whole
scene. That was like one of my That might be my favorite lightsaber fight that Disney has done.
Yeah, I agree. And the way that it ended with blending Hayden Christensen and James Earl Jones's voices,
Yeah.
and when Darth Vader tells Obi-Wan that Anakin doesn't exist anymore and that Darth Vader killed him, and you can just see in Obi-Wan like the like guilt be lifted off of him. Like there was nothing that he could have done that would have prevented this from happening. Because as a mentor that he's just been running through like, what are the signs that I missed? How did I not notice that this was happening? And how could I have saved Anakin and everyone else? And like the amount of guilt that Obi-Wan was feeling, you can see like that leave him. I think it's still there partially because I don't think you can ever like fully let go of that, but to hear it from Darth Vader and Anakin, I think was a huge moment for that character.
Yeah, to me that was like the benchmark scene in the whole series. That was the best scene in the whole show.
Yeah. Sorry to
No.
talk about
that's why we're here to talk about it. I thought it was cool that they gave them a Rebels moment, because to me that's also the best moment in the Rebels show when Darth Vader and Ahsoka fight, and he also like his helmet gets damaged. We can see his eyes, and both scenes do share a little bit of dialogue too. When Vader says, "Then you will die," he says that in both of the fights, the Obi-Wan and the Ahsoka fight. But
and he also says that when Obi-Wan and Anakin fight on Mustafar, right?
He says, "You will try."
Oh, okay, but similar.
Yeah,
similar intentions. Yeah.
Yes. I thought for sure Darth Vader was going to come in with some sass when he had the high ground.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that
I
would have
thought
been perfect.
for sure he was going to throw some shade about having the high ground before he like buried Obi-Wan in rocks. But no, we didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. He took the high road. But
for once in his life,
I guess. I also I want to just rewind to the episode before that fight, because really quick I want to talk about how I really loved how we got to see Anakin and Obi-Wan in their episode 2 outfits.
Yes.
I mean, you can tell they didn't do like anything to de-age them in the footage, but it's fine. Like
I think Obi-Wan's hair was different, and he looked a little like maybe they had gone with a finishing tool just to like smooth out the wrinkles a little bit.
I mean, they weren't extreme about it.
No.
Like with other, it wasn't like the CGI faces over like Luke in Mandalorian,
right?
You know?
No, not like that at all.
They didn't do anything too extreme, but it was fine to me. I just loved seeing them both be those characters and like training together and stuff. That was super cool, and the way it tied in with that episode and how like the cat and mouse game that Vader and Obi-Wan were playing and how it tied in with them training in that scene was all super cool. I loved that.
Yeah.
And in that episode, it was like a mixed bag for me. There were some things that I didn't understand, but then there were things that like totally made up for it, and I don't even care because they were just so awesome. Like when they were having the chase scene with the ship, the Star Destroyer chasing the other ship, I was like, oh man, this is like A New Hope. It's so cool. I love watching those Star Destroyers chase after these dinky little ships.
Yeah.
Something about it just makes me happy, even though people are in great danger.
Right.
But then the second ship peels off that has Obi-Wan inside, and then Vader makes it like we have to, he makes it sound like there's a choice that has to be made. Either they chase the rebels and basically cut the rebellion off at its knees, or we chase Obi-Wan, and he chooses Obi-Wan, of course. But I'm like, my dude, you are on a giant military vessel that has hundreds of TIE fighters on it. you sick the TIE fighters on the rebels, and then you go chase after Obi-Wan in the main ship. Or if you don't want to do that, he was planning on fighting Obi-Wan by himself anyway, because when they chase Obi-Wan to the moon or the planet or whatever, he goes by himself in his shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
And his shuttle has hyperspace capabilities. The shuttle could have kept up with Obi-Wan's little escape craft. Like, just chase after Obi-Wan in your shuttle and send the Star Destroyer after the rebels. I'm like, you're not on one ship. You're on a ship that has hundreds of other ships on it.
Right.
So it was just moments like that where I kind of got lost in like the writing. But the fight scene though with Vader and Reva, when first of all Vader like storms in. This is before that actually. When Vader storms in to where the ships are to chase Obi-Wan, and he like halts the ship in midair with the Force and drags it back down and rips it in half.
Yeah.
That was one of the coolest Force moments ever. And then Reva's sneak attack, failed assassination of Vader was another. That was like the most disrespectful lightsaber duel I've ever seen. Toyed with her and just used the Force to block her blows, which is something you don't normally see. And it just really showed like the power gap between them.
Totally.
It was super cool.
Well,
I
and
loved
he also
all that.
revealed that like he's been on to her this whole time. Like he's known this whole time that she was just trying to get back at him.
Oh yeah.
Which is such a Darth Vader move.
Oh yeah. Called her youngling. It's like, you think I didn't know youngling?
Yeah. I'm like, that's so disturbing. Which, okay, as we know, the Force is kind of an amorphous thing, and every time more content is released, it changes just a little bit.
It becomes more and more cool. There has to be a shiny new Force ability in each movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But here's... Okay. The show starts off with the Inquisitor showing up on Tatooine because there's a Jedi there.
Yeah.
And it's this Nari character.
Yeah.
And they can, like... It's unclear, like, how they know the Jedi is there, if it's just, like, word of mouth, or if they can sense the Jedi. And while they're there, and they're trying to, like, narrow down the Jedi, Reva, like, launches into this whole monologue about how the Jedi have abandoned them. And I'm like, I don't think Tatooine ever thought that the Jedi were for them. I don't think Tatooine is feeling the loss of the Jedi at all. I think it makes a difference to them.
I think most people on Tatooine didn't believe in the Jedi, like that they even were real.
Right, because when they show up in episode 1, Anakin's like, "Are you a Jedi?" And it's like a mythological creature. Like...
Yeah.
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 So I'm like, you're making this big speech. I don't think these people care.
It'd be like if aliens landed on Earth and they were like, Santa Claus has abandoned you.
Right. So like that was a little weird. But then I was like, okay, these are Force sensitive people. And my understanding of the Force is that other Force sensitives can sense other Force sensitives.
Yeah.
So how are they on the same planet as Obi-Wan and they can't just suss him out? Which we kind of find out that he's shut himself off from the Force, so that kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. But then, like, later on, there are just a few times where I'm like, if you can...
Yeah.
Why?
I know what you mean.
What?
I know exactly what you mean. There are moments where, like, the established, like, canon for the Force doesn't make sense.
Right.
And it's just kind of one of those Star Wars things where you just got to kind of shrug and let the story be what it is. It's unfortunate, but I think you're right, though. Well, it could also depend on, like, how powerful the character is.
Right, which an Obi-Wan would have been a... But in A New Hope, when Obi-Wan is on the Death Star and Darth Vader's like, I sense something I haven't felt... And then he, like, cuts himself off because he realizes what it is. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, so... And the Death Star is not small. It's a big operation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that their Force senses would be, like, the side of a planet. But Obi-Wan wasn't far away when she's questioning Owen.
Right. He was still cut off from the Force.
But he was still
at that
cut
moment.
off from the Force. So, like, that I can forgive.
Yeah.
But Luke, I guess he's not showing yet, whatever that means. But
I think
he
I
would have still
interpreted
been
that-
Force sensitive, so why a kid? So maybe that makes a difference.
Yeah, maybe like the stronger you are with the Force, the like
More of a beacon you are.
brighter the beacon is that you're there. Yeah, it's one of those things, man, where it comes up when it's convenient.
Yeah.
For the plot, and then it gets
Right.
kind of forgotten about at other moments. Like when Obi-Wan is hiding from Riva in that room, in like the storage room.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Where are you, Obi-Wan?" Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, even if he is still like shielded by the Force, they can sense other life forms. Like I've always kind of thought of like the Force as giving them kind of like infrared to a certain degree.
Since the Force binds us and connects us,
Right.
you can see where the Force is, and the Force is in all living things.
Right. But you know what?
So-
That's more of a that's a general observation for Star Wars as a whole, not necessarily this show specifically, because that happens all the time.
Yeah.
So you're like, wait, why aren't we
Kenobi's not
utilizing this?
in that critique.
No, not at all. And something that I thought was cool was how we see Leia subtly using the Force. Like, we know that Leia doesn't become a Jedi, but she is Force sensitive. And, like, when she's having conversations with people, I thought the actress did a really nice job where she'd do this thing with her eyes where her eyes would narrow for, like, a second. And then she would say something incredibly insightful and just bizarre for a child to say. And you're like, oh, you are Force sensitive. You little Leia.
She's very,
Very in
Yeah.
tune with people.
kind of gets in your head. Mm-hmm. And you see that, and that's another thing where you go back to A New Hope. She's always doing stuff like that, like saying things that like kind of get under your skin because it's like when she's talking to Han and she's like, if money is all that you care about, then that's what you'll receive. And then just like, you could tell that like cut him.
Right. He's like, how dare you?
Yeah.
How very dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see.
There's a lot.
There's
There's
so
a lot that
much.
we'll probably miss because
Yeah.
we're, it was 8 episodes or 6. It was 6 episodes.
Yeah.
But
Let's jump to the end though when Riva goes to Tatooine, because I have never been so
More
confused.
confused.
Because I'm
That
like,
was the
what
main
is her
thing.
intention? She wants to hurt Anakin. That's her intention. But how does going after a child that he doesn't know about hurt Anakin? And I
don't know.
I don't recall exactly, but I don't think that the part of Bale's message that she heard reveals that it's Anakin's. And she also doesn't know that Leia is Anakin's. Right? Like, that's a well-guarded secret. Only Bale
Yeah.
knows that it's... Nobody knows that it's Anakin's, but only Bale knows that it's Padme. Right?
Right. Like, Padme being pregnant was already a secret.
Not a
And-
very good one.
But
She's like wearing clothes that like kind of reveals it. But
Yeah,
nobody
but
knew who the father was.
the general population, I think, was unaware.
Right.
And nobody knew who the dad was. There's no way with what she heard. Like, even if she... Because also Anakin and Padme's relationship was a secret.
Right. That like
There's no way.
and
that she
Obi-Wan
would've-
didn't know about wink wink. Like there's no
There's-
way he didn't know, but like that he totally was like Clone Wars, they touch on it a little bit where like he knows that Anakin and Padme are having like conversations, like personal
Yeah.
conversations, you know?
No, Obi-Wan knows. Like, he knows by the time of episode 3 because he says, Anakin's the father, isn't he?
Right. Yes.
But anyway,
Like the plot of getting Leia and capturing Leia was to draw out Obi-Wan because of Obi-Wan and Bale's relationship, not because of who Leia is. other than she's Bael's daughter.
I would say this is probably this question is probably the biggest shortcoming of the show, in my opinion, because I want to understand, but I can't. Because so what we know about Reva, she survived Order 66, even though she got gut stabbed as a child.
Yeah, I didn't understand how she survived either. Or
did
why
she
Anakin
get gut stabbed? Or was that scene where he was like flashing between Anakin and Vader as he stabbed her? Was that like in her head? Did that actually happen? It seemed like she got gut stabbed in the temple.
Yeah, but the way I interpreted that was that he spared her for why?
I think she hid with the dead bodies and pretended to be dead. But again, why would that work if you can sense life with the Force?
Right.
But
yeah.
But so we know that she survived that, and her whole point, her whole reason for being right now is she wants to kill Vader for what he did in killing all the younglings and the Jedi and everything. So but she also hates the Jedi
for failing
question
her.
Mark for failing her.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why she still hates Obi-Wan and everything, and why she's so aggro against any potential Jedi. She's willing to just cut anyone down, like we see in the first episode. So, and the whole point to her trying to find Obi-Wan, why Obi-Wan was her obsession, was because she was the only Inquisitor that knew that Darth Vader was Anakin, because she saw him as Anakin, and she knew that Obi-Wan and Anakin were close. So she knew to manipulate that old relationship to try to lure Vader into a vulnerable spot to where she could kill him.
Mm-hmm.
She does all this. It fails. Darth Vader just obliterates her in a fight. And not only that, reveals that he knew, stabs her again, but then just decides to leave her for some reason.
Yeah.
That doesn't really make sense to me.
Right.
Why not? Why just stab her? She already, man, if you wanted her dead, you have a lightsaber, man. Just Count Dooku her. I thought that's what was going to happen when he was holding those two lightsabers.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was going to be an off with her head moment. But, but then when they leave her to die, presumably, even without finishing her off for some reason. So knowing all that we know about her and what she knows, she sees a random recording from Bail Organa, and who knows if she even knows who Bail Organa is.
But she would have to know because of the Leia connection. She would have to know that Bail Organa and Obi-Wan know each other, and that Bail Organa would call upon Obi-Wan if something happened to his daughter. She would have to know that. Which doesn't make a ton of sense either.
You're right, because that's the whole reason why she hired the bounty hunters to kidnap Leia.
Yes.
Because she knew there was a Bail Organa and Obi-Wan connection.
Right.
Okay.
So that's why she kidnaps Leia. Not because Leia is Darth Vader's daughter. She doesn't know that.
Right.
But
she saw Leia as a means
to an end.
To get to Obi-Wan.
Yes. So then she sees Bail Organa leave a message for Obi-Wan that he is going to go to the boy, or that they must protect the boy. And somehow she puts together that the boy is connected to Owen Lars, who she had met on Tatooine and knew had a son. But there are lots of farmers on Tatooine with sons. So I don't fully understand how she knew that that's who he was talking about. Because he doesn't use a name, right? Or am I misremembering that? I'm sure he didn't use a name because they're trying to be super covert.
Yeah, I don't understand the whole Reva going to Tatooine to kill Luke. I just don't. I don't get it. I don't think there's. At least it hasn't. I would need the writers to sit me down and explain
tell you why.
The motivation, because does Reva? So for me, I would think Reva would see that recording and just think, oh, Obi-Wan was trying to protect a Force-sensitive kid on Tatooine.
Right.
That's why he was hanging out there. Interesting. I don't know why she felt, given everything that just happened, I don't know why
Right.
that she felt the need to go harm Luke. Did she see Luke as Leia 2.0, where like, I'm going to do this all over again and capture Luke to lure Obi-Wan and then use Obi-Wan to lure Vader again?
Or is she just so angry that her plan failed and she just wants to lash out at Obi-Wan now? But instead
Both
of
of
going
them
to Obi-Wan
seem-
directly, it doesn't, I
They
don't,
both seem weak to me.
except that it gives her a moment as a character at the very end to turn from her plan.
Right.
And to actually catch Luke,
Right.
save him, and return him home after she almost killed him.
And they still managed to stay within canon, where Luke never actually saw her lightsaber.
Right.
So the first time he sees a lightsaber is still with Ben in his Tatooine
Right.
cottage later on in A New Hope.
Right.
So again, I don't understand Reva's motivations or like why she did what she did, but she ended up with a redemption arc.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's cool. I'm down with it. I just wish that her character wasn't so mismanaged, like with the writing, and like
Yeah.
I wish I could have properly known why she was doing what
Right.
she did.
Yeah. Like, I'm tracking with it until... I'm tracking with most of it until that
Yeah.
point where I'm like, wait, what? I do like that it gave us a moment with Owen and Beru to see them, like, take a stand and, like, and for Beru
yeah.
to be like Beru in the last episode, yes.
Beru didn't mess
Mama
around,
Bear
dude.
it up. Like, that was great.
I mean, yeah, that was hilarious. That was one of the best moments.
Yeah.
Because it also gave me hope that they didn't go out like a couple of chumps in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Like when the stormtroopers rolled up, there was a reason why their bodies were burned. They probably had to just torch the place because they were putting up too much of a fight, you know?
Yeah.
I like imagine them with their blasters like fending off a stormtrooper battalion
Yeah.
before the stormtroopers just give up and throw a grenade
Yeah.
inside, you know, like
Yeah, totally.
blaze of glory.
Right. Yeah, so it was cool to see that moment for her and for Owen, and for her to be like, we don't need Obi-Wan. Luke has us. Like, oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was cool. I appreciated that moment.
And
So-
they did a good job fending off Reva, given that she had been gut stabbed by a lightsaber.
They were still totally outmatched. Like 100%.
Yeah. I mean, she should have been dead, but
She should have been dead, but...
anyway.
And also, I struggle a little bit. This is always true with Star Wars. I struggle with the timeline of, like, how long it takes to get places.
Oh, Obi-Wan got there so fast.
So fast. But okay, so another case of Obi-Wan and a Force sensitive being able to
can
sense
sense-
something is wrong from planets away.
Yeah. Solar systems away. He could sense it.
Right. So I'm like, if you could sense that, what else could you sense if you just open yourself up to the Force
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
and let it happen? But that's
Again,
fantasy for you.
And so this my one last gripe before I stop complaining is just when Vader and Obi-Wan fight the first time and Vader's like dragging him through the fire. It's like this super dramatic moment of like, you burned me, I burn you. But then at the end, Obi-Wan ends up on the other side of the flames, and Darth Vader and his stormtroopers for some reason can't get through the flames to get to Obi-Wan. Because here's the thing. Darth Vader can clearly see Obi-Wan on the other side, and just 3 seconds ago lifted him up in the air with the Force. And like why did Darth Vader let them go? He could have just lifted Obi-Wan up and pulled him to him. Also, I mean, this would be more of a deep cut than that. That's the easy solution to the problem, right?
Right.
But also, his suit is flame-proof. Like, and
Yeah.
his cape is blaster bolt reflective, It's fireproof. Like he wouldn't. The flames
Yeah.
wouldn't bother him whatsoever. He could have
Right.
walked through it and grabbed him and then left.
Yeah.
But it was dramatic. It was, fire's dramatic. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you make a good point.
But still. So it's moments like that that take me out of it, right? But there were enough awesome moments, like with Darth Vader with his helmet gashed open, Obi-Wan T-posing and throwing a million rocks at him.
Yes.
Seeing someone actually attack Vader's, like, chest buttons.
Yes.
Like, it seems like the most vulnerable part of him, and someone finally took advantage.
Yeah. You've reminded me of... Okay, so Darth Vader doesn't choose to lift Obi-Wan in that moment. And I'm thinking about how by the time we get to A New Hope, like the most that we see him do with the Force is lift someone and choke them out. In A New Hope. Like that's predominantly what he does.
He doesn't even lift them with the Force. He's just like...
He just chokes them.
With
Well,
his
the one he
hand.
lifts with his hand, but I'm thinking in the when they're in that meeting and he like
Oh,
and
yeah.
he like chokes that one guy.
Yeah, it doesn't lift him with the Force, though.
No, you're right. But and in that bit when he's with Grand Moff Tarkin, and Tarkin makes a comment about like that ancient religion, like he doesn't like believe it. Which this is not necessarily an Obi Wan Kenobi thing. You just made me think of this, but like Tarkin has been around for a long time, and he has seen what Darth Vader can do with the Force, and what the Jedi could do with the Force.
He's seen what Anakin can do. Like,
right.
him and Anakin knew each other before Revenge of the Sith. Like, Tarkin was
right,
like a commander in the Republic.
So then is this... I mean, obviously, this is the story being fleshed out after the fact, like after that original movie.
Yes, 100%.
But it's interesting because it makes you think about how revisionist history happens. And is Tarkin just like... Is he just like part of the machine? Which obviously he's part of the machine, but part of the like... The part of the machine that discredits the past to make people forget about it so that they move on and just accept the new order, which is 10 times worse. And what an interesting accidental bit of storytelling and like the way that propaganda works. You know what I mean? You're picking up what I'm putting down?
I mean, I'm sure there's definitely a part of the Empire that's like anti-Jedi propaganda machine that paints the Jedi as like religious extremists.
Right.
Who tried to 10 years old.
18.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, at the time of A New Hope, yeah.
Yeah.
But, and in Rogue One too, what's the first thing Tarkin does? He nukes Jeddah, which is like a holy site for the Jedi. So...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Just interesting. Not related to
right.
Obi-Wan, except that Darth Vader is like, maybe he's already like scaling back his use of the Force because he's also part of the machine.
I get the feeling that they don't like showing Darth Vader off to civilian populations very often, because when it happens, kind of like in the show, he just starts randomly snapping necks.
Right. Yes. He's very
which
volatile.
was terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah. Not good for the civilian population.
No.
Just a big old murder machine.
Yeah, man. Last thing, Leia inside the trench coat to get out of the fortress. That was dumb too. But it was funny, but it was also dumb.
Well, okay, but also Obi-Wan does almost nothing to disguise himself.
He is also pretty casual about wearing that lightsaber on his hip.
And he makes himself look more like past Obi-Wan. Okay, so when he's on Tatooine, he's wearing like a blue tunic, which we've never seen Obi-Wan wear a blue tunic before. And he's wearing like dark gray, brown pants. But the minute that he leaves Tatooine. He's back in the brown Jedi robe and a tan tunic and the lightsaber. And I'm like, dude, you look like you. What
Yeah.
are you doing? It hasn't been that long.
I think that was actually more of a storytelling decision where I think they were wanting to show him slowly morphing back into Obi Wan Kenobi instead of being the underground in hiding Ben Kenobi. Like I understand that, but at the same time, this is like a covert ops mission.
Right. It doesn't make sense.
I understand the intention storytelling wise, like visually, but it doesn't make sense for the plot.
No.
Because like the first thing he does is pay to get off of Tatooine, and he like flips the robes out, and his lightsaber is just hanging there, out in the open for anyone to see. When there were just Inquisitors on Tatooine looking for Jedi to kill.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my other thing where I'm like, why isn't he doing a better job of hiding himself? And then becomes an issue because they flash his image on that one planet and they're like, we're looking for this person. And it's like, yeah, and you look like that.
Yep.
So, I mean, you have more hair now, but you basically look like you.
Uh-huh.
And yeah.
So the show had
I did like the costuming overall. Like I thought that the Alderaan like costuming was perfect. And like the way that they were subtly like alluding to what Leia would do in the future as grown Leia. Like her hair braids and like the colors she was wearing. I was like, oh, you're like doing a really nice job of setting us up for Carrie Fisher Leia, which is very nice. But
costuming was all cool. Yeah.
It was just the Obi-Wan not disguising himself.
Whoever gave those Alderaan guards those like mini capes that stopped at the hip was not doing them any favors. Though those look pretty. Those are dumb.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, overall the show had enough really awesome moments to tilt the needle into the good category in my brain. It did have some hiccups, but there were enough really amazing moments to make up for it. Liam Neeson, man, that was so cool.
It was so good.
And seeing them in the outfits, seeing them in the episode 2 outfits again, it's just there's a lot of really cool stuff.
I'm really glad that they did that for Hayden Christensen specifically because like it's cool that they brought him back on the show, but he was predominantly in the Vader costume. So like they didn't have to bring him back. It was nice that they did.
Yeah. I don't know if he was even in the Vader costume for
maybe
the majority.
He wasn't. I don't know.
He certainly was when his face mask got gashed open.
Right.
You know.
But it was nice that they gave him a moment of being Anakin and looking like himself.
Yes.
So that was really nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. And it also gave us an indication of like the tension that has always existed between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Like that wasn't new. Like they were always kind of struggling in that like master apprentice relationship and like you know, like what that looked like with boundaries. Yeah.
I think a lot of that has to do with Qui-Gon dying and they're both coping. And Obi-Wan never wanted to train him.
Right. Well,
he's fulfilling the dying wish of his master.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah. And ultimately loving Anakin like a brother. Yeah. Things would have been a lot different if Qui-Gon's story had gone differently. But
Oh yeah. For sure.
So.
But alas, Force Ghost Qui-Gon it is.
Yeah. But it was nice to see him again.
Yeah. Definitely was.
Yep.
With that being said, we're running late for this one, so it's probably about time to wrap it up. We could probably talk about it for another half an hour, but
probably. But
I think, wise.
I mean, we didn't even talk about Haja. We barely talked about Tala. But really, you should just watch the show. It's good. If you're a Star Wars fan, you should watch it. So
I think you'll enjoy it if you're a Star Wars fan, for sure.
Yep.
Watch it and then listen to this.
Yes. Well,
For goodness sakes, if you haven't watched it yet and you're listening to this, what is wrong with you? Especially if you're planning on watching it, you monster.
right. At this point in the episode, like, what are you doing?
You
Sorry,
must
man.
really like the sound of our voices.
I guess so. Oh, man.
But yeah, so for the next read along, it's A Hall of Smoke by H.M. Long. Go pick up the book.
Chapters 1 through 5.
Now I know where my next Audible credit's going. And we'll that'll be next week's episode. Will be the first chapters 1 through 5 for Hall of Smoke. So looking forward to seeing you then. So until then, go read something cool.
And we'll talk at you next time.
Later.
Bye.